Attention.
You are listening to Leftist Antidote Show. Politics is downstream from pop culture. This show is at the river's bend.
And now your host, Brock Lawley.
I guess the most recent thing is that guy getting off. The guy got an acquittal.
That's one where the left and the right can come together. Conservative talk radio hosts got that one wrong, in my opinion. I get that the Snowden thing had some security problems. I get that. I was a vet in the military. I understand that. But we are in a totally different America now with a totally different perspective. The leaders have absolutely no fear of the citizens. So guys like Snowden, to me, I don't care if he went around the rules. I think he's a hero. I
agree, and I really like a couple of these talk show hosts, and we part ways when it comes to Snowden. So far, from what I know, again, the thing about him staying in a foreign country after this all transpired, they say, well, this proves that this man has something to hide. You know, he did this and then he ran. But with the kind of tyranny that we're facing, this, I used to say soft dictatorship, but we're definitely moving into a firm dictatorship. That doesn't surprise me that he would fear reprisals. And the fact that the right and the left come together on this just proves that there's not that big of a difference right now between the two.
In this area, because they fear the citizens, and that should terrify Americans at large. And Snowden, the fact that he has self-interest doesn't make his efforts to expose what he truly believed is unconstitutional, which, by the way, just so happens to be unconstitutional. That doesn't make, because the guy has some self-interest, he doesn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison, does not nullify everything the guy's done in my mind.
Actually, the smear job that they did against him was pretty textbook. So as soon as I started hearing him say he's a traitor, and like the way they would word it really kind of reminded me of a
old Soviet Union kind of.
Yeah, they vilify you. You say something, you come out against the government, and they immediately vilify you, make you a conspiracy theorist, paint you in this terrible light. That way, the content of what you're saying is not being examined. It's just this guy's a nutcase and just dismiss everything.
Exactly.
So that's pretty old. That's pretty old school. And since I'm a pretty big constitutionalist, I don't like that our government doesn't feel the need to follow the Constitution. So anything, even if it's illegal, it doesn't go against national interest to say, by the way, I mean, this thing we're using it to spy on terrorists, and it's a good tool against terrorism, but they're just using it on random citizens. Now, maybe they're not listening. Maybe they're not listening to every little bit of data.
Yeah, totally. And I like what you said. You know, I've been saying this to people for the longest time. You know, all of a sudden, the government is lawless. I mean, if you don't acknowledge that the government at this point is unconstitutional via lawless, then you're not paying attention. So all of a sudden, the government's allowed to be completely lawless, but the citizens, we all have to still abide by that same paradigm which holds us. You know, the Constitution and the exchange of powers is a two-way street. We lend power to be governed. The governing, it gets power from the governed temporarily and under certain conditions. So if you take a piss all over their end of the conditions, why are we obligated all of a sudden to still hold up our end?
They really believe that we are sheep and they're shepherds. They believe that. They believe that we're stupid and that we need them to tell us what to do. It's just very, they know better than us. That's it. It's simple. So if they need to break these silly, antiquated laws to do so, then so be it. Plus, right. the power thing. Actually, somebody suggested me a few weeks ago that I should start watching a show called House of Cards, which is on Netflix.
I saw it. It's amazing. Yeah, I saw the whole first season.
Very eerily behind the scenes. Like, it made me sick to my stomach to think that
I agree.
Is the way the government. It was spot on. Like, you give me this, I'll give you this. You give me this, I'll give you this. The truth is that we hire you to do a job, and they're just wheeling and dealing. It's just one big real deal. So once you get to Washington, you forget the actual, tangible, real people that you're representing, and it becomes just this big checker chess game where you're just trying to get what you can get. Ultimately, you want the power, and ultimately, you want to keep your job. But all these things you do in order to do so, and not in order for the betterment of the people that elected you.
That show broke a lot of ground in a lot of novel ways. It cast the Democrat as what is clearly a villain. I mean, you never see that. And the intricacy and the detail and the really, really putting Washington under a microscope was just awesome. I mean, it also broke all kinds of grounds by way of how film financing is going to happen in Washington, because it was strictly done by Netflix. Netflix played that move genius.
But they hired David Fincher, one of my favorite directors, and Kevin Spacey, one of our greatest actors, together in a TV show straight to. Well, I guess the only thing to compare it to would be like straight to video. But but straight to video is a dead way to think about it. It's no longer straight to video. Now it's streaming, and you can get everything streaming anyway, regardless if it's in theaters yesterday.
That's where everything's going. Everything is going there.
Yeah. So the whole thinking of it as straight to video, which I still because the DVD time frame, the VHS time frame is what's in my head. In 10 years, it's all going to be streaming. It's going to be irrelevant. There's going to be movie theaters like Lucas and Spielberg said for big budget movies like an event, but it's not going to be like it is now, like a casual Friday afternoon. You get 10, 12 movies every 2 weeks to pick from.
And Netflix positioned itself as a major player because it's cutting out networks, it's cutting out movie theaters. I mean, that show was a great show, and it found a huge, massive audience, so it has this huge influx into cash into Netflix.
Dexter, the TV show, had this narrative. It was a little different. Some movies explored it, hardly any TV shows, maybe the Wonder Years, and a handful of other shows have this narrative, which is what the guy's thinking, and it works. And this show did something even beyond that, where he takes the break, and the narrative is he'll talk directly to the camera, like, blah, 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 and this thing happens. The opening scene with the dog, that's the face for me. I was like, oh. As soon as the dog happened, I was like, I'm hooked.
I know. What a great opening scene. I remember thinking the same thing. The
it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And you're like, just a couple sentences. If the author is that good, if the writer is that good, you're hooked. And the opening scene is like, who is this guy, man? What is he about?
I'll tell you what, man. I've seen the whole series. That scene, that one 30-second scene, maybe 45-second scene, it epitomizes his entire character. He's got the stuff to do what few people in the world are able to do, and he has this like chilled blood in his veins. But he also is enough of a thespian to be able to perform on the world stage as a human being, even though he's not.
His sermon in the church was one of the best sermons I ever heard.
Yes. And it's all crap. You know, he just
all crap.
Has no fear of God, all crap. I mean, his character is brilliant. The fact that he's so three-dimensional in this character is what's most impressive about it, because just when you think you got him figured out, you don't. Oh, yeah, you're going to love that series. You're in for a treat. I couldn't stop watching it. I mean, it was one of those ones where I hibernated for a week. It's unfortunately one of those few pieces of art that I can't suggest to other people because it's just too
much crap.
It's just too gritty. But, like, you know, like I have too many friends who just I can't in good faith. But, I mean, for whatever reason, I never know whether my threshold for that is too big. My wife can't handle that. She can't handle it, and she knows she can't. It affects her mind, and maybe it does mine too, and I just don't think, or I think I have tighter, harder calories. It is true that what you put in, what you are, is what you eat. And if that's true of friends, then it probably is of art. And I've never really been able to find a nice tightrope walk with that stuff.
But it's one of these people who likes to be engaged and likes to have their mind stimulated and likes to see an artistic interpretation of what's going on. Not gratuity for just gratuity's sake. But, for example, if these type of people behave this type of way, it doesn't bother me to see that's how they're behaving.
Visit the Atheist Antidotes YouTube channel and follow him on Facebook and